What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course, and we are talking about overstable putters. Yeah, the Kratos isn't it, folks. The Kratos is a slightly more stable Luna, but it's not necessarily an overstable putter. So what I'm going to do is we are going to throw the Kratos, but I have two other options that we're going to see if either one of these might possibly fit the bill. So we have the Kratos, and then we have our nice little, we'll call it the 2-for-1 Proton Special. We have the Prism Proton, Eagle, Rebirth, Envy. This disc is gorgeous, and it flies amazing, if I remember correctly. And the other Proton disc is the Proton Particle Glow Jeremy Colling Tempo. 4-speed, 3-speed. Both of these, by flight numbers, should be less stable than the Kratos. I think you're gonna see that that doesn't hold up. Let's go ahead and start off with the Kratos first, though. And the wind's a little gusty, so we'll see what happens, but it's just, this is a slightly more stable Luna. It's all it really is. If flipped up to flat, Envies, especially Proton Envies, don't really do that out of the box. There might be a headwind. There might be a headwind. Okay. And this, the Eclipse Tempo for some reason felt too shallow. It might be that it was Eclipse versus Proton, but this feels deeper to me, and it feels a little bit better forehand and backhand. So let's see how this flies. Okay, no flip up at all on that disc, which is good, because for the overstable option, that's what you want. Is the 4-speed going to be too much distance? Is the 3-speed going to be too much distance? Do I need to go back to the Sky God 4s because they're a 2-speed? I don't really know. But I'm trying to figure out what needs to be in my bag. And people keep talking about how good the 4-speed is, how good the 4-speed is. I keep giving it a shot. And I think the overstable throwing putter might be the place for it. I don't think it's going to be my approach disc that I lean on. And it's not really stable enough or fast enough to be a mid-range. So is it just, it's a really weird spot in my bag for me. The Envy with 3 Tempo. Cannot remember the name of this disc to save the life of me. Tempo with 2, Kratos with 1. We're gonna throw the hyzer out over the street, and if it has the stability for the disc I want, it should fade to stay safe. And the stability of the disc I want is something that will actually fade back and kind of park it, or maybe even ace run it. So we'll see what we get. Envy's gonna be up first. I've kept this in a box for so long, and it feels so good. Well, that was the right stability, not the right line. We're gonna be over the street. Over the street. That's what we want. Let's go with the Tempo. See what we can get with this. This has the very flat, it's designed as like a forehand approach disc, so it does have kind of the zone idea, very flat on top with that almost abrupt aggressive edge, but it's not super aggressive on any of its angles. Very nice and rounded over, feels very comfortable. Going to be more torque resistant on a forehand than any of the other two discs. I don't know about a backhand though. That is the right line and the right stability. That's a really good disc. Now for the Kratos. See what I mean? Same line, same throw. Sometimes the Kratos doesn't come back. Sometimes I think what happens there is that it has the upper dome and even a lot of the rounded over rim shape of a Luna. They just kind of cut in a little bit at the bottom to give it a bead, which is going to slow it down faster than just having the super smooth rounded off shoulder. So it's really just a Luna that slows down faster, and when a disc slows down faster, tends to make it fade harder. It does make it fade harder than a Luna, does not make it stable enough for the slot I want. So flip-flop at the top. They're both tied at 5. Kratos with 2, because these two discs have torque resistance, or actually, it's not even the torque resistance. It's just in the shape of the disc. See why this is more stable than this is? That wing, this goes down, this goes up. Stability comes in the shape of the disc, and the envy and the tempo not too far off. We're gonna go ahead and throw the forehand here. There are some discs that are backhand only and some discs I throw forehand only. But for the most part, I like to be able and have the option to be able to switch it up and throw both. So let's try to do it. Let's see what the tempo looks like. Honestly, not bad. Very, very soft, but as long as you're focusing on hitting the spin, that one actually has gyro, so it will hold the momentum. So as long as you're spinning it off your fingers, you're more likely to go further than just throwing it really fast. The Envy, especially this Envy, has a slightly, ever so slightly softer shoulder. It's not perfectly dead flat, so this one's going to roll a little bit, and it's kind of a deeper dish. Deeper dish, even more dome. It's not going to do the same on a forehand, but the Envy is not a terrible forehand disc. That one got a little bit more, just a tiny little bit flip up to flat, rode pretty straight. The tempo held going straight on hyzer, whereas the Envy just kind of flipped up to flat and went straight. The Kratos, well, the shoulder on this disc is so far down, it makes me switch back to my old Ultimate days. So this may not go well. Well, when you're the queen of air bounce forehands, you can forehand anything. Not saying that it's comfortable or that I want to. The tempo feels the best on a forehand grip. The Envy, second. The Luna shoulder that the Kratos has It just doesn't feel good on a forehand grip. Sorry. But it's also not designed for that. So there is that. With, let's see, they were at 5 points. So 8 points, 4 points, and 6 points. They're all separated by 2 at this point. We're going to go ahead and throw the backhand turnover / flex line. With the Kratos, it may not come back. And with this disc, can I hold the turnover for long enough? That's what it's going to be, I feel like. Just kind of feels like that kind of a disc. But also, it's not super beef. It's just overstable. It's stable. It's not super overstable. Oh, yes. Bring me up for that one, please. Let's see if the Kratos can follow. This is not likely to be anywhere close to looking like the same shot because this one's going to come out much flatter, possibly even on hyzer. Oh, good redirection. Well, as long as the Envy stays in the fairway for the whole flight, we'll give it to the Envy. That was pretty lucky. Not gonna diss it for that. Sometimes some discs are just kind of lucky. This disc feels like a lucky mold. I haven't thrown this specific disc enough to know if it's lucky or not. So close to perfection. Let go of it just the tiniest bit too early. It held the turn really, really nice. And it probably was going to do very similar to the tempo. Let's go throw some holes where we can't reach the basket and just absolutely gas them and see what full flight on both of these looks like. Because I really am interested to see tempo versus Envy, because they feel like very similar slots, but one is more forehand, one's more backhand. It's what it feels like. Let's go test. Yeah, this was 1.5 feet from the pin. I don't know if I've ever thrown a closer shot on that hole, but that is the closest I've ever thrown with a tempo on that hole. We are gonna toss off the long pad for hole 16. At this point, if the tempo is second and first over this hole and the next hole, tempo wins out, which means the tempo will be going, oh my goodness. So if the tempo wins this battle, whichever one is going in my back, whichever one wins, and right now, looking like the tempo might be it. Let's go ahead and we're gonna give it just a soft bit of anhyzer, because this slot I want to be able to crank on it and still get it to come back at the very end. So a lot of power, a touch of anhyzer, not big sweeping shot, but something that's just gonna gradually move to the right and then slowly come back at the very end. That was pretty good. Maybe a little nose up, but not bad, honestly. Let's go ahead and go with the Envy. For the Envy to come back, Envy has to win both, and that has to get last at least once. You'll notice the difference in the distance. And honestly, though, that makes me feel better throwing the tempo. And here's why. 3-speed putters for me tend to border on mid-range. And especially with something like this, or the Envy, I have to decide, am I throwing my putter or am I throwing my method? But with the tempo and it kind of dumping a little bit faster and not having the same incredible glide and push means I need that shot with a putter, I can throw a Luna. I need that shot, I need to come back on the distance some though. Dial back from the mid-range, just we'll throw the tempo. So that makes me feel a little bit better about bagging it. Let's see what the Kratos can get us. Touch further than the tempo, but it did flip up. I don't want it to flip up. Well, based off of how I do most of the metrics for who gets the point, feels like Envy wins this hole and tempo was last on this hole, which means that it's actually a battle. And now they're gonna have to fight it out on the very, very last hole. Do I do this on purpose? No. Does it happen almost every single battle? I mean, a good portion of them, yes. So we're gonna pair them up on the whole T-pad of 18 and let's see which one flies. And there we're gonna see not absolute distance. There we're gonna change the metric, which one dumps out a little bit quicker and actually gives me putter distance flight and not mid-range distance flight. So I know my little distance tell on the ground. You're not gonna necessarily know which one flies further because depth perception in a camera at 300 feet, sometimes a little bit difficult. The wind right now is a tail, left to right. We're gonna give these things some Anheuser and see who comes out on top. Will it be the Envy? Will it be the tempo? It's not the Kratos. And Kratos is throwing second, but I'm done trying to give the Kratos every advantage that it can possibly get. I'm gonna treat it like an ever stable putter and show you why flight numbers are sometimes a lie. I do like that. I like that a lot. I think that's the same spot. I think it's the same spot. Oh my goodness. Also, I completely forgot that the Kratos was supposed to throw. So, we'll do that now. And I'll show you why. 3303? Excuse me. I don't know where they're getting all that from. It tried to find out even less than the Envy did, and the Envy is 3302. Honestly, I'm still confused as to why the Luna has the flight numbers it does, but that's neither here nor there. I am kind of stalling, just slightly, because it's going to take me a little while to walk down to where these discs are. And I don't actually know which one is going to win this battle yet, because it's too close to call from the T-pad. What I will say is that I like the Envy for how it flies like a putter, and I also like the tempo for it kind of flies like a putter, but then at the very, very end you get a little bit of a hook. Something that you don't really see from too many putters. Most putters, if you give them enough Anheuser, they're just going to pan. whereas the tempo kind of feels like it's going to pan and then hook up at the end, so give you an actual flex shot. Oh boy. Too close to call is right. Tempo wins. Tempo beat the Envy, or at least for me today, the Tempo beat the Envy. The Envy is absolutely a phenomenal mold, and I kind of can't wait till I get to throw the Envy some more into my bag. But I also am not really sure where it's going to fit into the speed slot and all the lineups and stuff. So it's a lot of stuff we're trying to figure out. Kratos is out. Kratos is gone. Tempo is in for the time being. We're going to see if I like the 4-speed in this specific slot, and 4-speed that's stable but not too overstable. We'll see how I like it. Hopefully you guys enjoy content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.